Right, hey guys, how we doing? So, explanation point. I really liked his Sword Art Online Abridged videos, reacted to those a while ago. He explained why Sword Art Online Abridged does a really good job of changing up the story and to the original. And then a few of you have been suggesting this one for a while, well, part 1 and 2. I don't know why I didn't get around to doing them, but it's Christmas, so hey ho. Here's my present to you. So let's just get into this. This is going to be interesting as well, because I remember I watched My Hero Academia Season 1 dubbed. English dubbed. I watched it dubbed. And then I continued the series subbed. And I didn't seem to have any problem with it. Obviously, I've not gone back and watched Season 1 subbed. So this will be an interesting thing to see what he has to say about subs versus dubs in Season 1 of My Hero Academia.
Deku is the point of the first season of Hero Aka. As I argued in my very first YouTube video back when my avatar looked like this, there is nothing in the first season of MHA that doesn't directly relate to our third favorite green-haired shonen superstar. Because the introduction of Deku's character is so central to the first season's narrative, even the slightest of changes in that character will greatly affect the way Hero Aka tells its story and how the audience is expected to perceive its messages and characters. This is why Hero Aka is the perfect launching point for subs versus dubs. While Deku remains the plucky underdog teenage protagonist with a hard-on for justice who's saddled with an unexpected OP superpower that he uses to follow his dreams and fight for his friends that he's always been, the subtle changes to dialogue that occur in the transition from Japanese to English completely recontextualize Deku's character and thus indelibly change the way the series presents its themes of perseverance, self-improvement, and heroism. This video, the first of at least 2 that are going to tackle the differences between the sub and the dub of Hero Aka's first season, will explore Deku's dream of becoming a hero and how his perception of that dream changes in the sub and the dub. But before we get into that and what it means for nerds like me who like to pick apart their cartoons, a note on spoilers. Subs versus dubs is an analytical series, which means that it's going to be loaded down with spoilers like my second video's loaded down with comments about Bakugo being smart. Yes, that is still happening. Normally I think it's kinda silly to put a spoiler warning on analysis videos because duh, but I understand how this particular video could be misconstrued as a review or a recommendation. It's not. This video is not meant to help you choose whether to watch the series subbed or dubbed. Do whatever you feel like, bud. It's an examination of the way the presentation of the series gets changed in translation. So if any of you came to this video expecting anything other than an in-depth, spoilerful English class analysis of the first season of Hero Aka, stop expecting that and expect this instead. To keep things simple, I'm also going to be using a specific naming convention when referring to characters as they are presented in a specific version of the show. Midoriya, as he is presented in the dub, will be referred to as E-Deku for English Deku. Midoriya in the sub will be called J-Deku for J-Sub Deku. If I just say Deku, then I'm talking about the character of Deku as a whole. The same goes for E-Bakugo, J-Best Girl, etc. Also, in the interest of saving time, all clips in this video are going to come from the English dub with Crunchyroll's subtitles manually added at the bottom of the clip, like this. This way, we'll get to see the differences between the subbed and dubbed phrasing without having to show the same clip twice. This way, we'll get to see the differences between the subbed and dubbed phrasing without having to show the same clip twice. This way, we'll get to see the difference. Like most shonen anime, Hero Aka is an underdog story. Deku wants to be a superhero, but the world around him says that he can't be a superhero and instead wants him to be like a cashier at Japanese Kroger or something, I guess. In both versions of the show, Deku has to decide how he wants to interact with a reality that has condemned him to want to be bitch status. But the way Deku perceives that reality and his place in it differs drastically between the 2 versions and has major implications for his character. This is most heavily seen in the first 2 episodes of the series, where Deku is struggling with being a quirkless fanboy in a land of super gods. Put simply, for E-Deku, becoming a hero is an aspiration. For J-Deku, it's a fantasy. While both would-be heroes show a sense of dedication, the language used by E-Deku is far more definite and future-oriented than that used by J-Deku. It makes it clear that E-Deku has a goal in mind, a solid motivation behind that goal, and a general idea of how he's going to go about achieving it. J-Deku, on the other hand, uses his dream of becoming a quirkless hero mostly as an outlet to vent his frustrations about being bullied in school and permanently denied the one thing he's wanted for his entire life. He would never openly admit to himself that becoming a hero is a pipe dream, but he does understand that the world as it is simply would not allow him to pursue that dream explained to any serious degree. Let's start our analysis by looking at Deku's first line as a narrator.
Here's the sad truth. All men are not created equal. When I was 4 years old, I learned that some kids have more power than others. But that won't hold me back.
That was my first analysis.
If anything, it pushes me to do better.
What needs to be pointed out here first is that the truth in question is not, I can't be a hero without a quirk, but rather that there is a natural power disparity between people with different quirks. We see this disparity taken to its extremes as young Bakugo, who possesses one of the most objectively powerful quirks in the series, beats the holy stinkin' super crap out of Randy and young Deku just because he's kind of an asshole. Because of this, Deku says that the truth is sad, since he extrapolates on this fact and comes to the conclusion that he shouldn't logically be able to become a superhero without superpowers. However, even in the face of that sad fact, Deku doesn't slow down. He takes it in stride and says that if reality tells him he can't follow his dreams, then he has to prove reality wrong.
Right.
We see this mostly in the way that Deku uses argumentative, almost combative language when discussing his dream in the first 2 episodes. For example, when talking to All Might about becoming a hero in episode 2, Deku says this.
People think I don't have a chance. That not having any powers makes me some kind of weakling.
Wow.
My classmates like to make fun of me. But you know what? That makes me want to prove them wrong. Ever since I was a kid, I've thought that saving people is the coolest thing you can do. I want people to see my fearless smile and feel safe. And be the kind of hero everyone in the world looks up to. Just like you!
Where Deku says, I'm always made fun of, Deku says, my classmates like to make fun of me, which changes the focus of the sentence from Deku as the victim to his classmates as perpetrators, giving the sentence a confrontational bent that isn't present in Japanese. Deku sees his bullying as something to be overcome, and he chooses to phrase it as such when speaking to Muscle Jesus rather than making himself out to be a victim as Deku does. The rest of the sentence further displays Deku's attitude toward the truth when he says that he wants to prove them wrong. This is Deku taking a firm stance that the truth he has been fed his whole life is flawed, and that he has concrete desires to break that truth apart and show the world that a quirkless wannabe can be the greatest hero of all time. Even the way he speaks shows how seriously he takes his goal. His sentence confidently flows from one point to the next without any of the maybe that's why, I don't know, but that we find in Deku's sentence. Deku's ideas of becoming a hero and the steps that he's going to take to reach that point are solidly ingrained in his head.
Yeah, he's going to do
Deku,
it.
those ideas are much more vague, and he isn't able to recall them at a moment's notice like Deku is, instead leaning back on saving people is super cool, like a grade school student explaining to his mother the benefits of being a professional dinosaur hunter. And that's because for Deku, being a hero isn't a realistic aspiration, at least not at first. It's an escapist fantasy that he uses to distract himself from his terrible life.
Wow.
This change in attitude between the sub and the dub is best displayed in this scene as Deku is walking toward the fight with the sludge villain right after All Might tells him that he can't be a hero without a quirk.
Why am I here? Did I subconsciously walk this way to check it out? I shouldn't even stop. All my notes are useless.
When telling himself why he shouldn't stop, Deku makes a practical statement about his ability to affect the situation. His notes are useless, he wouldn't be able to do anything to help others, so he shouldn't stop. Deku instead gives a different reason, saying that it would feel meaningless. His reasons for not stopping to view the fight are entirely personal. Now that his idol has told him that he can't be a hero, Deku's escapist fantasy is in danger, and he's worried that trying to play the hero and taking notes on a big fight will be the final blow that does it in. He doesn't feel that watching the fight will provide that same sense of personal fulfillment or escape that it once did. Rather, it's just another reminder of how badly his life has turned out and how everything he wants is out of his reach. We also see this discrepancy in Deku's attitude toward his dream in the way he talks about his interactions with reality. At the end of the first episode, just before telling All Might about his dreams to become a hero, Deku says,
Sometimes I do feel like I'm a failure. Like there's no hope for me. But even so, I'm not gonna give up. Ever.
First, Deku speaks in emotional terms and puts an emphasis on his own sense of perseverance.
Yeah.
No matter how much he feels like he isn't going to succeed, he's determined to work against that feeling to prove that he can. Again, the statement is confident and thoroughly thought out, clearly something that Deku has mapped out in explicit terms before. Deku's statement is much weaker, and acknowledges for a brief moment that his inability to become a hero might be true before trailing off with his "but even so." Deku doesn't provide us with any grand declarations or inspiring shows of dedication. He's a kid with a dream that he knows is childish, so when it comes time to defend that dream to his idol, all he can say is, maybe it's true that I can't be a hero, but, and finds himself incapable of finishing the thought.
Yeah.
He has to add the but because the dream of becoming a hero is the only thing he finds truly fulfilling. If he lets that go, then his life is meaningless. But he can't continue the sentence because the only logical conclusions to it are all based in his desires instead of reality. Maybe it's true that I can't be a hero, but I want to really bad. Maybe it's true that I can't be a hero, but wanting to be one is the only thing that keeps me going. Yeah. Maybe it's true that I can't be a hero, but if I can't, then Bakugo and the others are right, and my life is pointless. And the extent of Deku's despair isn't to be understated. This part of my analysis is largely speculation, so I'll try to keep it brief, but I feel like the first 2 episodes of the sub give the viewer reason to believe that Deku is legitimately suicidal. After Bakugo throws his notebook out the window and tells Deku to jump off the roof of the building, we get this line.
That idiot. You can't go around telling people to kill themselves. What if I really jumped? What would he do then?
While the differences in the 2 lines are subtle, Deku's reaction seems far more serious than Deku's. What if I really jumped is purely hypothetical, and choosing to follow that up with what would he do then shows that Deku is mostly concerned about Bakugo in this situation. He thinks about the guilt that Bakugo would feel if the comment actually had pushed him over the edge, rather than considering any negative aspects of his own life that would lead him to that point. Deku instead says, if I really jumped, which suggests to me that jumping is something he's thought of before and never been able to bring himself to do. We get another nod to this in the Japanese when Deku runs in to help Bakugo escape from the sludge villain.
Just a little bit longer, kid. And I'm done playing with you. Save the boy.
With Death Arms calling Deku suicidal, I can't help but think that part of Deku wanted to die in that fight. To become a hero in the only way that was left to him after All Might closed that door permanently, through martyrdom. If this true, then it gives Deku's declarations of heroism a serious sense of personal importance, and makes his eventual disillusionment even more tragic. Again, though, this is mostly speculation, and there's no solid evidence in the text to determine exactly what Deku's thinking on this front. The unwillingness to give up on his dream is shown again in Deku's contradictory reactions to finding his notebook in the pond.
My dreams have turned into fish food. That's enough. Give it back. Damn it.
Having been antagonized by Bakugo, Deku's convictions get even stronger, and he insists that his dreams aren't fish food. While this line sounds more hopeful than Deku's at first glance, there's actually a tragic element to it when viewed through the lens that I've presented here. In this encounter, Deku is faced with the same antagonistic bullying that spurred his escapist fantasies about heroism in the first place. When Deku says that his dreams aren't fish food, what we're seeing is him avoiding conflict with Bakugo by retreating back into that fantasy where he still has the potential to be that great hero who can kick Bakugo's butt someday. Similarly, Deku's line sounds defeated, but from it we're able to see his willingness to occasionally look at how seemingly absurd his ultimate goal is and view things somewhat realistically. He's absurdly ambitious, but he's not a clueless dreamer. He knows how difficult this is going to be, and he knows that there are going to be times when it feels hopeless, but he still reaches into the pond and takes the notebook back, signaling to the viewer that he's going to be moving forward from this, and his dream is going to persist into the future. But what's really cool is that we also get to see a few indications of how these 2 distinct attitudes formed in the sub and the dub. Most notably, this flashback.
And once I get my quirk, I'm gonna be a hero just like him!
Sorry, kid, it's not gonna happen.
We should probably give up.
E-Doctor's comment here is a definite statement of fact. It takes E-Deku's dream and slams it right in the head with the nope hammer. There are two important things about this phrasing that cause E-Deku's character to split off from J-Deku's. First, it provides E-Deku with an outside obstacle against which to work. E-Deku is told that he physically cannot become a hero, which gives him something to overcome and someone to prove wrong through hard work and dedication. He sees the doctor's diagnosis as a challenge and treats it as such. Second, E-Doctor's statement doesn't leave any room for Deku to spoil himself with fantasy. Thanks to E-Doctor's phrasing, E-Deku has to accept that his dream is at least supposed to be impossible, so he isn't able to use it as a means of escape in the same way that J-Deku is. As such, E-Deku works harder and has a much clearer idea of what he wants to accomplish than J-Deku. J-Deku, on the other hand, is told that he should probably give it up. First of all, this leaves room for J-Doctor to be wrong. In J-Deku's world, it's still entirely possible that he could someday develop a quirk and become the greatest hero of all time. In his mind, this allows his fantasy to remain a realistic possibility, and thus he has no reason to see it as anything other than one of many potential futures. Second, J-Doctor's advice is just that, advice. It ultimately puts the impetus on Deku to decide whether or not his dream is worth holding on to, which he will of course say it is for reasons that we've already discussed. Second, and most interestingly to me, is this scene from the first episode.
Right. She might not be very useful.
What's that, fanboy? You taking notes over there? Want to be a hero too, huh?
That's great, you can do it.
Yes! More than anything!
When this spikehead freak asks E-Deku if he wants to be a hero, he isn't mocking him, but he also isn't being entirely serious. He's poking fun at Deku for having the same dream as every other kid, and he doesn't make any comment about whether or not he thinks this dream is attainable. As such, E-Deku takes it in stride, saying simply that he wants to be a hero more than anything. It's hard to imagine that this exchange has much of an impact on E-Deku, since it reaffirms what he already knew about himself. J-Deku, however, has an entirely different experience. When J-Spikehead Freak presumes that Deku wants to be a hero, he is fully supportive, saying, "You can do it," which is the same phrase to which J-Best Girl eventually compares the word Deku itself. This is the only time in either version of the show where we see anyone tell a quirkless Deku that he can be a hero. And the huge smile that we get from Deku shows that this kind of comment from a stranger not only enhances his own self-image, but bolsters his confidence that his dreams of heroism are more than mere delusions. And that smile is the perfect metaphor for what Hiroaka is trying to say and how that message is displayed differently between the sub and the dub. The first two episodes of Hiroaka have a very specific message, and that message has nothing to do with being a hero. Through those episodes, the series makes it clear that there are some people who will never achieve their dreams. For every Deku out there who becomes the world's greatest hero, there are 50,000 more who work as gas station attendants or go to UA's business program. But regardless of whether or not Deku becomes a hero, the hope that he someday could makes him a better, happier person. E-Deku learns to deal with hardship and not to give up in the face of impossible odds. His dream gives him something to work toward that lets him say that the world is wrong to underestimate him, and when he walks home after the fight with the sludge villain, he can be proud of himself for trying despite not having been physically able to stop the fight. J-Deku's ability to retreat into his delusions of heroism gives him a means of coping with the world that he otherwise couldn't bear to face. His dreams may be unattainable, but they're important to him, and that gives him refuge while he learns different ways to deal with his lot in life. After the encounter with the sludge villain, J-Deku is shown firsthand that he is incapable of performing the kind of work that he wants to do, and as such he must force himself out of his delusions and into the real world, but not before getting a taste of real heroism and proving to himself that he has the courage, the instincts, and the drive to really be be a hero if he had been given a quirk. While walking home, Deku says that he can be glad despite not having changed anything because now he's able to think of a realistic future. Despite both versions of Deku knowing that their dreams were unattainable, the fact that they maintain those dreams allows each of them to improve themselves in different ways. This is the ultimate message of Hiroaka, that having a dream, no matter how crazy it may be, will make you a better person. That hope is not foolish, even when it is. I hope you all enjoyed this first episode of Subs vs. Dubs. Next time, we are going to continue this analysis of Hiroaka's first season by revisiting one of my most controversial videos. It's Deku and Bakugo next fortnight on Subs vs. Dubs, plus a few stellar announcements. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Thanks to you all, we have reached our first Patreon goal, and I am officially a professional YouTuber.
Yay!
That's right, Mom. Now I can disappoint you full-time. Seriously, I couldn't do this without your support, and that game night we had the other day was fantastic. To the people on my team, I am very sorry that we exploded. I'll try not to let it happen again in the future. Thanks again, and until next time, this has been Explanation Point, signing out.
Quality. That was a good video as well. That was cool. Wow. So, like, differences and stuff in the way. It really changes it up. That was really good. I definitely want to check out number 2. And, wow, Season 4's been announced for next year, but not till bloody October. It's a while away. And did I mention that I went to the cinema to go see the My Hero Academia movie? Didn't book tickets. Should have booked tickets because it was full and me and my friends couldn't go see it. And it was only showing that one day at that one time at the cinema by us. Devastated. So I still haven't seen it. So we still got the DVD release of that to look forward to, and then Season 4 in October. Cool. So, thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should want to discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys. It's all you guys next time.